Hi there, I'm Evelyn Jerome Alexander. I'm the founder of Magellan College Counseling. I've been guiding families through the college search and application process for 14 years. Our team of 20 counselors works with high school students throughout the United States. And really, we try to help them focus on fit, finding the college that fits them best, academically, socially, and emotionally. But for parents, that fit part sometimes actually refers to the financial part because you don't want to get yourself in too deep. I literally actually had a dad say to me today, who I did not work with his son. We had these choices, but we chose this one. But now, how do we get them to, give us some student loans or give us some aid? And there's a point at which you've gone too far, and once you start making decisions, you're kind of closing doors on the cost side. So we really like to make sure people understand all of the options that are out there to bring costs down. And that's why I've invited today Vanessa and Shaler. Vanessa is with the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs campus, and Shaler is with the University of Nevada, Reno campus. And they are going to walk us through this incredible program that's available to students in the Western United States called the Western Undergraduate Exchange, the WUE. So I'm going to these ladies have both been doing these presentations literally for years. They know everything about the WUE program. So I'm going to mute myself. I am your expert on getting in, but Shayla and Vanessa are your experts on bringing the cost down. So I'm going to let them go, and I'll probably enter some links in the chat as they go, so you have some resources to click on. So Vanessa and Shayla, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I am going to let you take it away. Tell us about the WUE.
All right, good evening, everyone. I have the presentation, so I will be beginning, but essentially, Vanessa and I work for what are called Western Undergraduate Exchange or WUE schools. And we're going to talk to you about why this is a really fantastic option, but effectively it's a phenomenal way to save money. And so I'm Shaler with University of Nevada, Reno. I'm based in Northern California, but I do work with students from Washington as well. And Vanessa is going to introduce herself when we get to her slides. Don't feel like we're overlooking her. She's got a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really excited to be co-presenting with her today. In full, the Western Undergraduate Exchange is a regional tuition discount. It's been around for a while, and so sometimes people have different names or phrases for what WUE might have been prior to its existence, or there might have been something in place before a school and good neighbor program. Friendly neighbor is something that I've heard before in the past. But effectively, there's about 200 plus 2 to 4 year public institutions all across states in the Western Coast. We'll have a wonderful graphic for you to really highlight what those states are that saves you money. And in the course of its existence, it saves students millions of dollars. And we'll talk to you how it's really easy to be a part of those $1 million in savings. Effectively, those 200 different public institutions are in all of these states. So coming from the state of Washington, you have access to receive discounts in participating universities. So one thing to note is that not every public school in those states are going to take part in the Western Undergraduate Exchange. So it's always worthy to ask an admissions counselor like myself or Vanessa, are you a WUE school? No questions are wrong or bad questions. So things like that are really valid to ask an admissions counselor. And another thing to note is there's going to be things that you might have to do to meet a qualification. So effectively why we're here to talk to you about it is every school does WUE a little bit differently. But firstly, we're here to let you know where you can find these institutions. Another thing to think about is this discounted rate is calculated based off of the school's in-state tuition price. It's why every school has a different way of either advertising WUE or the savings or the cost is going to be a little bit different. Effectively, WUE is calculated at 150% of a school's in-state tuition. Or if you essentially take their in-state tuition and multiply it by 1.5, that's how you get the WUE rate of tuition. And so schools can advertise this a few different ways. And this is just a mock-up example. These aren't actual numbers reflecting either UNR or UCCS, for example. So let's say this example school, their in-state tuition is about $10,000. Just to give you an idea of how a school might advertise it, let's say their out-of-state price is about $25,000. For taking that 10K, we're multiplying it by 1.5. You're paying to attend that school about $15,000. What's going to be really common is schools might say you are saving $10,000 because $25,000, that full state average price, is a $10,000 difference from that WUE rate of tuition. Just to kind of, and then some schools may advertise it per credit. They might advertise it at that you pay 15,000. So just be mindful of the different ways that schools advertise WUE a little bit differently. And that's why, again, ask questions, get clarity on exactly what you're going to be paying, what your discount can be anticipated to be. And then as far as finding the programs, I'm going to hand it on over to Vanessa to really start going over that a little bit. But essentially, WUE is part of this overarching program called WECHI. And this is just a little snapshot of how to maybe get to that via Google and start to look at the list of the programs.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Vanessa Aya. I use pronouns she, her, and I've been with the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs for a while. I started with them 26 years ago as an academic advisor, but it's actually been for the last 15 years that I have been based in California, specifically in Northern California, and I help all students in the WUE states for my university. Evelyn did drop in this website, which will give you a lot of great information. If we could go to the next slide, Shaylor. All right, awesome. And so that's the facing page that you'll see. It's a great tool in terms of being able to sort in a lot of different ways. Say you only wanted to look at schools that participate in this program in Colorado. You can select the state and the type of degree. If you're only looking at bachelor's programs, then you can select that search in the search and then click enter. Be mindful that there are community colleges in the Western states that participate in that. And so you'll see associate degree as an option in the search. And then of course you can also search by majors. So it's a really neat tool. I love how when your search results pop up, you can get that quick snapshot of the annual, well, for the tuition and fees, the estimated costs for tuition and fees for each of those areas. So, if you're in California and you kind of know, you have an approximation of what that in-state cost is. So for example, at Cal States for in-state tuitions, they're running about $7,000 per year. You can pull up some of these WUE schools and go, huh, those schools are actually cheaper for me to go on the WUE rate than it is for me to go to a Cal State, for example. Or for example, the UCs for California residents, they're running what, about $14,000 per year for in-state students. That's just the tuition and fees part. And you will see a lot of schools on that Western list, that WUE list, that again, the cost is cheaper. The other part that you might not, kind of put together right away from the search is, as you're looking at the states, a lot of these states might be cheaper than where you live like for example, if you're in California, many of us Western states, our cost of living is going to be cheaper, or your cost for what you get dollar amount will go farther. Like I mentioned, I've been living here in California for 15 years as a regionally based counselor. And when my oldest son was looking at, a variety of colleges for his programs, the cost of the housing and dining at my university at Colorado Springs was comparable to some of our California in-state schools. However, the setup might have been different. At Colorado Springs, we have suite style housing, whereas at some of the California schools we were looking at, they had the old style 1960s dormitory bathrooms down the hallway, and my oldest son was not about that. And so again, WUE savings is not just tuition and fees, but if you're looking at some of these states that are, like I said, going to be cheaper than places like California or places like big cities like Honolulu or Seattle, for example, it might be worth it for sure. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so how do you qualify? It depends on the university. And so I don't think on the WUE savings finder tool. It does not tell you the admission requirements. So it's really, again, important, to Shayla's point, to talk to admissions counselors at each of the different WUE schools that you're looking at. Some schools you might qualify with a certain minimum high school or transfer GPA if you're looking at starting at the community college first. Some WUE schools may be test optional, but there might be some that require test scores. Some might have deadlines. Others may not. So you have to think about, yes, there are admissions deadlines for getting your application in, but if you want to also get in with the WUE award, those schools might have different deadlines than their general application deadline. If it's important to you to have the WUE tuition not just be applicable to courses that are on campus, but also courses or programs that are offered online, you'll want to ask about that. Some universities, they might require you to put some sort of notation on your application, or it might be a separate application totally. While it's not a traditional scholarship program, some of our WUE friends do kind of treat it as a scholarship, whereas others, like Shayla mentioned, it's more of like a discount program. It's a different tuition rate than in-state or out-of-state. So make sure to check that you don't have to do anything separate. Some might require you to fill out the FAFSA to be considered for the WUE tuition or scholarship, whatever they call it. And then there might be WUE schools that are not open to all of their majors being available with the WUE tuition. A few years ago, our nursing program at Colorado Springs was the only one that WUE did not apply. Luckily for me, now we're 3 years in, it's so much easier for me to say, why, yes, all of our WUE majors qualify, but not all of our WUE university friends have that. Some of them only have one major that is applicable with the WUE. Some might have multiple campuses, but only certain campuses will qualify for WUE. Again, I'm part of the University of Colorado system. I participate in it in Colorado Springs. Our CU Denver campus participates in it, but Boulder does not. They do other things when it comes to financial aid, scholarships, etc. So just be aware of that. And some might limit their WUE availability. Again, because I've been with Colorado Springs for many years ago, we only used to have 40 spots for WUE tuition. And this was to be shared across the 13, 14 Western states and our territories. Thankfully, again, my job is so much easier now that we do not have that limit. So again, just make sure that you're asking these kinds of questions. All right, I think there's one more slide. So another important question I think you should ask, not just for WUE, but scholarships in general, is how can I keep my WUE tuition discount for all 4 years? Or, similarly, how can I keep my scholarships for all 4 years? We let you know, what it takes for you to earn our scholarships. But I think that, a lot of students, they don't realize that in order for you to keep them, there's certain things. And actually, many of our financial aid offices, they make you sign off when you accept a scholarship or you're accepting WUE, like this is what you have to do in order for you to keep that money. So some WUE schools, they want you to have a certain GPA. Some schools, you can't change majors. If you want to keep WUE, again, it might be at those schools where only certain majors apply. Some might require you to maintain a certain amount of credit hours. Again, similarly for us, we have scholarships that while our minimum credit hours to be considered full-time, we're semester-based, is 12 credit hours. Some of our scholarships, we want students to actually have 15 credit hours per semester in order for them to keep that. We don't have that with WUE. We don't have that floor of 15 credit hours for our WUE program. But like I said, some of our scholarships we do. And then graduation time, the idea of WUE is that we want to get you done in 4 years. Although, fun fact, if you're going to go on for grad school, WICHE that runs WUE does have a list of grad programs that has a similar tuition discount program. So, but for the bachelor side of things, we want you to get done in 4 years or less.
Can I
And
just throw something in, Vanessa? Because
yes,
this is a little bit of a hidden cost that people don't think about. You need to be looking at the 4-year graduation rate of the colleges and universities you're considering, because if you can't graduate in 4 years, that extra time isn't free, right? So you need to be confident that where you're sending your child, they will help them stay on that track for 4-year graduation because it's going to cost you more than you think it's going to cost you. And honestly, that's a problem with the California universities that so we use the word impacted in California. And the funny thing is, colleges from out of state don't even use that word. None of their programs are impacted. It's not even a thing. But most of the Cal State campuses are impacted. Most of the UC campuses. I had a student one time go to UC Santa Barbara, and she came from a public high school, but it was a smaller public high school. It was a magnet school. And she was kind of used to class sizes around 30, 35. And she called me in the middle of her freshman year and she said, there's 800 kids in my chemistry class. Like she didn't even know how to handle that. And that's not so much a cost issue unless it puts you in a position where you can't get all your classes. And that there's a domino effect, right? If you can't get the intro to chemistry class, that means you can't take organic chemistry the next quarter. So you're pushing things forward. And again, 5th year not free. So to me, that's a really important point.
yes, that's having started my career in higher ed as an academic advisor. That sequencing of classes is super important, and asking, again, admissions counselors like us, like, hey, if you're going to require a class, are you going to offer that every semester? Or is it just, I got to wait till the next semester? So again, just trying to get y'all cost efficient, time efficient, because the job market is waiting for y'all students to graduate in a timely manner. So I think that's the last slide. Oh, one more, sorry. So kind of in a snapshot to gather all that we just threw at you. Our WUE students, they are saving money, again, not just tuition and fees wise, but also potentially with the states that they're headed to from where they're coming from. They're saving some dollars, housing and dining, compared to if they were to stay in-state and stay at the residence halls, or their money, maybe it's the same, but it's going farther, getting more bang for your buck. Applicants must qualify for WUE, however that might look like for individual universities. Again, some schools might require GPAs, test scores. Some might just require that you be accepted to the university, that you be from a Western state, and you're good to go. Like I said, like we've reiterated, what WUE qualifications vary per the university. It can even vary within the state in terms of, so don't, again, just because I'm part of the University of Colorado or because Shaler's part of the University of Nevada system, UNLV might do something different from UNR when it comes to their WUE requirements. And then, of course, research. We're a great tool. Evelyn's a wonderful resource for you all. And then that WICHE website, it's a good starting place to have those conversations, students and parents, with one another as to how far you want to go, how close you want to stay, what's your budget. I think that will give you a great conversation starter over dinner tonight, perhaps, or later on this week. So
if you guys are okay with this, I would like to I'll take over the screen. I just want to do a quick demonstration of how to find this information. I always tell our clients that I don't know everything in my head, but I know where to find stuff. And I feel like that's important. So let me just I'm just gonna share. So I'm starting at the place where at the link that I put in the chat. So this is the WUE. This is the WUE website within the WICHE website, which is Western Undergraduate Commission for Higher Education. And I just want to make a couple points really quick. This is only valid for public universities, right? Because public universities are the only schools that have a separate price for in-state and out-of-state students. I know that's obvious to you and me, but some people sometimes don't realize that we're only talking about public universities. So if I'm searching within, I'm going to click on WUE Savings Finder. This is really the starting point. You could click on list of WUE schools. What I like to do is I like to filter. So I'm going to filter for a bachelor's degree, right? So we're only looking for a 4-year degree. And you can tell it, I only want to look in Arizona, Colorado, and Montana. Here, we'll put Nevada in here too, Shayla. All right, and let's see who participates. So this is actually a really good example. So Northern Arizona is a participant. Arizona State's Polytechnic campus is a participant, but do you see this column right here where it says C programs? It'll tell you which of the majors, that's what a program is. It'll tell you which of the majors are available. The Polytechnic campus is a very small campus. It doesn't have every major that Arizona State has. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Mesa Community must offer a bachelor's degree. That's interesting. So again, Arizona State's downtown campus, but that's kind of where the health sciences programs are. And the health sciences programs are not covered. So some of the, I'm going to say less desirable majors, although I'll tell you something. I had a student go to Arizona State and she was a social work major. And basically she was a social work major because she could get the WUE price for that program, which is an excellent program. Their West campus is also very small. It's about half an hour away from the main campus. And it feels like a liberal arts campus. I've toured it. It's a really sweet campus. It's about 4,000 students. You won't see, so University of Arizona, literally, these are the only 2 majors. So I'm not going to tell you that University of Arizona doesn't participate in WUE, but really not so much. Okay, so here's all the Colorado schools. Adams State. Interesting. A couple, yeah, so medical. All right, so here's UCCS. And Vanessa, is this every single major is going to be on this list?
It is, yes.
Every single major. Wow, look at that. That's a heck of a list. That is fabulous. All right, and we've got Metro State, we've got UC Denver, we've got Fort Lewis. So pretty much almost everything in Colorado, all the publics in Colorado. This is Colorado State. This is big Colorado, famous for their animal sciences. And look, it qualifies. And look at all of these art programs. Holy cow, that's really cool. This is a really long list. Wow. This is basically everything at Colorado State. Now, like Vanessa was saying, if Colorado State's interesting to you, you're going to want to, so you could click on this and it'll give you more information. I would probably want to go directly to Colorado State's website. So this is what I would do. Most of these schools have a page within their website dedicated to WUE, and it'll answer all of your questions that should at the top of which should be, how do I qualify? Does it work for every major? And here, just like she said, they're telling you that they're going to save you $10,000 a year. So this is great. And again, $10,000 is 1 year. So we're talking about 4. Okay, how do you apply? You don't. Isn't that amazing? Most of these schools, it's automatic. They can see where you're from. That's what you have to do to qualify. So this is the kind of chart that most of these schools have on their website. If you live in Colorado, here's what you pay. Now, this is, again, just tuition. The other estimated cost is going to be room and board primarily. That's why this number is so large. Non-residents, that number is just a tiny bit bigger. But look at the delta. Look at the difference between in-state and out-of-state. It's almost 3 times as much. But if you're WUE, you're going to get this for 150%. So you're saving, they're almost to the penny. They're saving you $10,000 total, including room and board, if you're in the WUE, if you're in a WUE state. So here's the eligibility. You have to be degree seeking on the main campus. You have to be a resident. You have to have a 3.2 GPA, and they'll take your weighted or unweighted. from high school. And most of these schools, I'm sorry I missed it if you guys said this, you have to maintain a certain GPA to keep the WUE for all 4 years, but generally it's renewable. It stays with you all 4 years. So this is pretty amazing. And all of this, just by looking around on this website, and look at how many options there are. There's just a ton of options. I've had students, apply to the California schools. Here, let's see what UNR. So UNLV does participate. Shaylor, is UNLV's participation different from your campus?
I'm pretty sure their requirements are the exact same. But
Okay.
They're gonna have different majors than us, but outside
Yeah.
of the requirements, I don't know.
Yep. Okay. And just so people know, because everybody doesn't, Reno is the flagship of the University of Nevada. Just have to put that out there. All right. So let's see. University of Nevada, Reno. There you are. Wow. Look at that price. That is such a good price. So people think that their in-state public university, I'm going to stop sharing. You guys kind of get the point. People just assume that their in-state public university is the least expensive way to go. And if you live in California, the UCs are creeping up over $40,000. Tuition, room and board, everything all in. The Cal States are creeping up to higher than 30 at this point. And if you're going to a Cal Poly, Humboldt, SLO, Pomona, it's even higher. So it's not less expensive than these other options. And again, can you graduate in 4 years? Are you going to be locked out of those classes that you need to keep going? Here's what I think we'll do. Because we'll take questions from the live audience, but I'm going to stop the recording. So if you're listening, if you're watching the recording, thank you for being with us. I'll post the slide deck underneath the playback, and I'll post some other resources as well. And thank you for joining us.
All right, so now that we've given you a great overview of WUE, now we're going to let you all know how we all do it at our individual universities. So I'll go first. So University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, we are part of the University of Colorado Public Research System. A lot of students know Boulder, we have our Denver campus, and then Colorado Springs. We're the youngest and the smallest, not young by any means. We were founded in 1965 as our own university within the system, and not small by any means, smallest in the system, but medium size when you think about all the Colorado public and private universities. We have about 10,000 students total. I get asked a lot, you see on the screen here, I get asked a lot about our College of Business, our College of Engineering, and our Bethel College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Those are all areas, of course, that are impacted in the state of California. So I get asked about them because they are not impacted at our campus, at least. But you can see we have other majors too: education, public service, and our large College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which includes very popular majors like biology, pre-med, psychology, and communication. This is our beautiful view. So Colorado Springs, we are located 1 hour south of the capital city of Denver. We are the second largest city after Denver, with about 700,000 people in our city. We have more than several universities, but we are the only WUE school or the only WUE university in the city of Colorado Springs. This picture was taken from one of our mild hiking mountain biking trails. We take up over 500 acres on a hill not far from that red rock formation that you see, Garden of the Gods. Lots of great hiking and rock climbing and mountain biking as well. And then, of course, the inspiration of America the Beautiful, O Purple Mountain's Majesty. That's Pikes Peak Mountain. That is over 14,000 feet above sea level. So as you can imagine, students from California and other Western states, they want to enjoy this wonderful outdoor playground that we have. So with WUE, here's how it breaks down for us. We do not look for a minimum GPA. We're test optional. Basically, what we want you to be is be accepted to the university, be from one of our Western states that participates in WUE, and you automatically get put on the WUE tuition. On this chart here, you'll see the minimum GPAs that we're looking for, and it ranges from a 2.5 or higher for our liberal arts programs and public affairs, education, etc., to the highest, our most competitive major, nursing. We're looking for a 3.8 or higher. Our WUE program is also good for transfer students, and we do have some stackable scholarships, and I'll go into that on the next slide. Our estimated annual cost when you add the WUE tuition and fees, the housing and dining, we're looking at 23,000 plus about 12,000, and that comes out to 35. And like I said, we do have a lot of stackable scholarships. So for our students from Western states, like I said, WUE is automatic. You get put on that WUE tuition. Our Peak Award is not for our students from Western states. That is for our students from Texas, Minnesota, Illinois, Florida, etc. They do not get the benefit of that WUE discount. So we do something different for them. We do the Peak Award. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see an example of our Chancellor's Leadership Class Scholarship, which is an example of a stackable scholarship. So our students, you qualify automatically for WUE. If you apply for our Chancellor's Leadership Class Scholarship, earn it, that can be stacked onto the WUE tuition. So bring the cost down even further. And then we have one scholarship that is not stackable with WUE, and that's the one in the lower left-hand corner. That's our Presidential Non-Resident Award. So if students apply for that, they earn it. It actually does better than WUE. WUE, where it's one WUE tuition is resident times 1.5. Our presidential scholarship is resident tuition times 1.1. And so we do give our students a choice as to which one they would like if they do earn that presidential scholarship. I have yet to see a student choose WUE over presidential, because again, it brings it down, the cost down pretty darn close to what our Colorado students pay. So, like I said, some WUE schools, don't necessarily stack merit on top of their WUE discount. We have that opportunity, so we'd love for you to check us out. So here is Shaler now with how WUE works at UNR.
In northern Nevada, close to Lake Tahoe. So for reference, a lot of folks think that we might be a weekend trip to Las Vegas. We are an 8-hour drive. So we are actually much closer to San Francisco than we are to Las Vegas down south in the state of Nevada. What's really cool about us, as Evelyn said, is we are the state's flagship public university. We're going to be still more of your larger school, not the largest around by any means, but you're going to get that large public school experience with about 21,000 students on campus. Because of that, there's a lot of things to do. So you can study abroad. We have an honors college on campus. We participate in divisional athletics in the Mountain West Conference. We have a ton of different academic programs, 145 undergrad degrees, 540 plus if you include our master's, PhD, certificate programs. And of course, we're a part of WUE. I'll talk about that. But I like to note that we're a Tier 1 research school, so you can participate in research as an undergrad. Tier 1 essentially means top 5% of universities across the nation. High level of research participation. Their professors have high level degrees in their field as well, too. As far as an overview of what our admissions requirements are, I like to do this because it kind of highlights how this could be different from WUE, which it is going to be for us. We are looking at only the classes you see listed for admissions. And so English, your math, your sciences, we're going to pull a GPA just from those courses to see if you're admissible. I'm just going to kind of go a little bit quicker over that. So thinking there's a certain set core of classes, GPA from those only.
So no foreign language.
Yeah, no foreign languages. So the biggest difference from A through G, no foreign language requirements.
Okay. Yep, good to know.
And we're test optional. And so for WUE, what's going to happen is if you are coming from a WUE state, the ones that we've shown on the screen, and you are admitted, we are going to automatically put you into the queue to evaluate you for our freshman WUE requirements. And we have separate transfer ones, so I'll talk about that, but this is if you're coming straight from high school. So the GPA we look for WUE is going to be a bit different than our admissions GPA. So that cumulative unweighted is every single class you take in 9 through 12, or when you end up applying, whatever you have on your transcript at that time. You don't need test scores to be admitted, as I noted. You also still don't need them for WUE, but let's say you are a better test taker. You have that 1160 SAT or 24 ACT. You did not have the GPA. You just need one of those three to get that nearly $14,000 off as an incoming freshman with WUE. Other things that we're kind of comparing when we think about being a WUE student with us, Again, no separate application. It's automatic consideration. You still need to meet the minimums. Every single major applies to WUE for us. And it's really a matter of qualifying for it, attending the university. You have WUE for 4 consecutive years. So that's that thing. We encourage you to take a minimum number of credits to be on time to graduate because it's for 4 consecutive years. Now, we do offer WUE for our transfer students. So if you're going to community college first, which I know is super popular, especially from California, 24 credits minimum. You do not have to do the full associates. You're more than welcome to do the 60 credits, but you don't have to. And a 3.0 transfer GPA. That makes you admissible. That makes you receive our $14,000 off as well. Same thing for our transfer students, no separate application, automatic consideration, all of our majors. It's pretty nice and simple. So something to think about for that major requirement is if you change your major, you still have WUE if you're fulfilling being there for 4 consecutive years. So that's what's really nice about having all majors being applicable. So if we're thinking about how those fees actually apply to the cost of tuition in comparison to being an in-state or a full pay out-of-state student, this is where we advertise it as about a $14,000 tuition savings. Out of state's about $28,000 right now. So with WUE, you're looking just at about $14,500 or so. Not quite that in-state rate, but still a really fantastic discount again, if you're looking at some participating schools in-state for you guys. So it's a really great deal. Yeah, and that's why we're here, because WUE is phenomenal. You can go to really great schools, graduate in 4 years. You can get your classes when you need to at UNR and UCCS and actually be able to, get what you need to be done, not have an additional 5th or 6+ years, which is really excellent. So effectively, contact us if you have questions. We are here to help you. If you have questions and clarity on what we mentioned, I know GPAs can get really confusing. That's why we're here. And don't feel like you ever are bothering us. Literally, our jobs is to counsel you in the admissions process. That is why we exist, and we have fun doing it. So, thanks for listening and learning about WUE. If you want to consider going to the mountains in Reno or Colorado Springs, let Vanessa or I know.